By the way, if you do math, there are a lot more progressives than there are. It's like it's two people that are blocking us. that is not really Democrats in disarray, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot of. I mean, I hate to go into the actuals of the bill, but there's a lot of people even in the Progressive Caucus that are like wanted to go through and mark up and take out some of the stuff in the 3.5, but they thought that was a magic number and they couldn't go after it. Now that it goes to the Senate, they'll end up signing off on the 1.7, 1.5, or hopefully in your telling of things, the $2 trillion version of things.
I hope.
Ultimately, because there's an infrastructure bank in the first bill, that is. You're talking about $10 trillion worth of potential investment in infrastructure over the next 30 years.
But this bill is over 10 years. That's the other thing that I don't think they're communicating well enough, is the amount we rubber stamp for defense every year is insane. Right. And this is so, I know you read it. You read it because you're a nerd. The amount of good things it does over 10 years, for a fraction of what we spend on the military, I just am so sick of this. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, we can't pay for this, right?
I'll tell you why. It's because the Progressive Caucus specifically has three things in the bill that they like. Specifically, the community college aspect of things, which they believe is a way to stiff arm some of the activist class that have been bugging them about college debt. Like getting rid of student debt. So if we add 2 years of community college, it's kind of a way of doing that, even though it amounts to about $6,000 to $11,000 per student, and it's optional. And then the pre-K, universal pre-K, which is an expansion that only goes to like a tax subsidy. I know I'm going to get into the boring reads of this. This is why people never read the dang thing. But there's a reason why it doesn't reach as many people, universal pre-K, as they say. Universal pre-K sounds like suddenly the entire country is getting pre-K. A lot of the country already has it. They just have the money to pay for it. This is for the people who don't. Universal just literally is become a code word for impoverished mothers and fathers and families getting pre-K for their kids as well. Expansion of pre-K. But it's not sexy like the word universal. And so they've been selling, mainly these two parts hard. And then the idea of climate change. They just keep saying fights climate change. Well, a lot of the markers in it are optional and have to do with the direction of the electorate, going along with it and making sure the Dems stay in so that the next Republican doesn't come in and just with a pen get rid of all the, the kind of stuff in the way that Reagan took the solar panels off the White House and said,
by the way, you would think
emissions.
Someone that's from a desert hellscape that's about to be Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome might be for something that would help climate. I'm sorry. That was more of my Kyrsten Sinema issues that I have.
I understand, unless she likes it there. Again, like John Oliver just came out and said it's not that she's quirky, she's bad at her effing job. That's what he said in his clip or whatever. He's wrong. I love John Oliver, but he's wrong. She's great for her job because Arizona is a state full of lunatics. This is, I understand.
But she's going the wrong way. It's trending like everything else, demographically and otherwise. It's trending. It's blue. It voted for Joe Biden. It has 2 Democratic senators. It's not even purple right now.
I agree, but there's still money to be had. I'm not talking about the voters.
Right.
You're assuming she wants to get reelected and that she's not just going to fall into, what was the Indiana senator who just literally quit and fell into a giant pile of lobbyist money a couple of cycles ago?
Yeah.
He literally just all of his votes had nothing to he's siding with this. He wasn't siding with anything. He was just biding time till he could leave office because he'd already set up through tax breaks. Once the Republicans got the tax break, out. That's where she is. That's the problem with Sinema. There's no fight there because she's not in the ring.
All right, so let's talk about.
She's about ready to dive into her Scrooge McDuck cave full of gold coins and swim in it.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And you're arguing like you have leverage over her, and no one does. She's going to take whatever.
No, I've dated her. Not specifically, but close enough.
Right.
I know. You have no leverage of any kind. Okay, here's my point, Hal. Let's talk about running again in 2024 because the Robert Kagan piece everyone's freaking out about is that, health permitting, Trump is going to run again. And I'm like, first, well, A, why isn't he in prison? And B, how is that fat orange bag of triglycerides still walking? Omarosa just said, I think I'm going into 2024. I'm really more concerned about the fact that Trump hasn't come forward and talked about his health. I don't know if he'll even be healthy enough to run in 2024. I think he needs to come clean to the American people about where he is on that before deciding to get into a very stressful and strenuous race for the White House. And they talk about he was extremely ill when he got COVID. His lungs had infiltrates. They thought they'd have to intubate him. His doctors were concerned about organ failure. I mean, his brain had already failed. But while he was at Walter Reed, I mean,
he's not healthy enough to run today. They're pacing these, he was doing, whatever, 5 of these things a day back in the day, the rallies. They're pacing these like 6 weeks apart. And even then, he's out for a week after each one. Yeah. Like they're sending out statements, but it's all stuff he tweets from bed. He does nothing but phone calls into these interviews. It's more of the Mika pre-2016 Mika, the morning show stuff where they put a picture of him. He did it on Fox. He does it on Newsmax. He's on OAN the same way. And then he does one sit-down interview a month, if at all, only because it seems like they're pushing him to. Like Don and Eric are going, Dad, people have to see you. And so he agrees to do one.
Are people just trying to write more terrifying articles than the last one?
I gave you this one on purpose.
Trump could run for president from prison and then pardon himself if he wanted, according to a law professor. Because I'm like, why isn't he in prison? Forget his health. Law professor Jennifer Thom said she thought it was more likely Trump will be indicted in Georgia than in New York. I'd like a twofer, but okay. She said the problem is, as you know, there's no prohibition running for president. Even if you're in jail, that would give Trump even more fire in his belly to win. If so, he could just pardon himself and unlock the door to the prison.
I would watch that as a reality show anyways, but it would not result in him actually becoming president.
I would like to see more than one legal scholar comment on that.
Yes.
That's just one person who says that.
Yeah.
It's like a single study without peer review. Where
Exactly.
You're like, a new study says chocolate's poisonous. And you're like, wait a second. A new study says chocolate is the miracle drug.
But his rallies, it's the same as always. Every single thing is lie. Did you see this Marine that he had lied about being the guy that pulled the baby over the wall in Afghanistan? A Marine who spoke at Trump's rally lied about pulling a baby over a wall in Afghanistan. He's under investigation for taking part in political activities by speaking at a Trump rally. He said he claimed he was the Marine shown in a viral video lifting a child over the wall at Kabul airport. Trump said, "We're honored to be joined by one of the Marines who bravely served in Kabul, helped evacuate the children over the airport while you saw him. He did a great job. Handsome guy." He's got a little bit of a homo gene. I just want to say, Donald Trump.
I understand that might be your bias in this circumstance, and wanting to spread that around the world. And
handsome guy, central casting.
It's part of the agenda. I get it. Yeah. But in this case, it's really like he thinks he can be handsome by association. This is his low self-esteem.
Right.
Where if handsome people are around me, I must also be handsome because handsome people travel in packs.
But
I swear to God, that's what he thinks.
He's a liar, and he's surrounded by all liars. This guy says to the audience, I'm the guy that pulled the baby over the wall. It's definitely probably one of the greatest things I've ever done in my entire life. The Marines released a statement saying, regarding the viral photo that began circulating, the Marine identified in that particular image was not Lieutenant Corporal Clark. I mean, it's the grift goes on, and just, oh my God.
And it is where the good news is. It is wearing on them as much as the news might be flapping about that he is the de facto leader of the Republican Party and they represent 50% of the country and he got such and such votes and blah, blah, blah. A big portion of, in the same way that we lost House seats last time, a big portion of the Republican vote is against this, and that's why Marsha Blackburn's running on it, is this fear of socialism. They are running on this thing, and it's an effective driver, just like the fear of immigration. So there's a two-pronged voting attack on the Republican side. They're teaming piles of Yemenis terrorists mixed in with Haitians and Guatemalans, storming millions of them every month,
but
which
it's just
is nonsense.
Hell, they get rid of old liars like Giuliani. Sidney Powell, the Kraken lawyer. This is the new story that she's turned into a laughingstock as she pushed QAnon and election fraud conspiracies for Trump. He is not showing any loyalty to his foreign. Oh, that's so new for Trump. He's not showing any loyalty to her. Among the places she's unwelcome now include Trump properties, where advisors look to keep the former president away from her. Her unrelenting antics have put her on an informal list of people to intercept should they ever appear, even if they just try to call the 45th president. So
that's not. Wait a second, because that's understand the concept here. That the reason that says advisors is because they are running interference to keep her away from him, because he would absolutely listen to her now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's all in on Sidney Powell's lunacy, and they're afraid that if she feels it, I mean, it's bad enough that Giuliani seeded much of this nonsense, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. They're worried that if Sidney Powell or Linwood or Rudy get anywhere near him, and that's why he's not on Fox.
This whole
that's
thing,
why Rudy's not on Fox.
This whole thing, this big lie and insurrection hell came from drunk Rudy, election night in the White House. I mean,
I saw it on Facebook like my grandmother.
I used to listen to me when I was drunk a lot, but you never did anything I said. I mean,
no,
God,
never.
For God's sake.
Ridiculous. Just the opposite, actually. But yes, you have to understand that, like, before they were keeping him away because they thought they were gonna make him look bad, or he was embarrassed by them, and she misspelled all these things, and he didn't want to see her anymore. Now he wants to see them. Now he's regretting it because he doesn't have any consistency in his life at all. So he wants all three of these people back in Mar-a-Lago for meetings.
Steve Bannon, who belongs in prison, was pardoned. Yeah. I mean, they were saying that he was just considered this creepy loser guy that was trying to get into Republican politics forever. Trump it's the bar scene in Star Wars. Like, Trump literally let in, like, all of... I'm sorry, isn't this 2024 thing? You're the superhero. Oh, see, Hal is too. Isn't this where all the bad people in Gotham, like, they all get let out, and then they get to run everything again?
It's the Legion of Doom.
Asylum?
The Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom. It sort of is. If the Legion of Doom has their head bandaged and race right out of the prison instead of creating giant plan to control the world, wanders around the park crapping in their diaper.
Right.
Because that's really where we are.
Steve Bannon is proposing putting together shock troops comprised of other former Trump officials and like-minded conservatives in the event Republicans take back the Oval Office in 2024, with the idea of immediately refashioning the U.S. government to their liking as soon as they take control. If you're going to take over the administrative state and deconstruct it, you have to have shock troops prepared to take it over immediately. All the bad guys in the Gotham get out, and Batman... Help me, Travis. Batman something.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ultimately, what is he saying? He wants bureaucratic shock troops, because he's not talking about actual people on the ground, like standing with guns, making people at the DOJ sign things. It's just stupid. It's macho language for idiots, and that's all they've got left. Like, there is some happiness into the fact that this is how pitiful their argument is now. Yeah. Genuinely.
Okay. Trump says that he will, let's see. Trump says unequivocally he has no doubt he will beat Ron DeSantis for the Republican presidential nomination. I don't think I'll face him. I think most people would drop out. I think he will drop out. This is the problem. This is with the Robert Kagan piece, right? Is that we've all laughed at him. Oh, he's not going to run. He's never going to win. He wouldn't go that far to hang on to power. And so I get it that people are genuinely terrified, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. He's not going to run because he'll have to turn down the super PAC money the minute he announces, which is why he's not announcing, why he won't say it. Because any other circumstance, he absolutely would say it. And when it comes time for running for president in 2023 or whatever, let's all like jelly-headed wandering out into the parking lot to check what's in the trunk aside that where he will be because of his absolute Pervitin-level drug use and his nonsensical diet and on fish delights and Diet Coke. That there is no way that boomerang of deliciousness doesn't fly back and bury itself right in your forehead at some point.
It's the same, Trump, right? It's like the same race between the law and his triglycerides. Like, who's going to
outrun which, right? Yeah. One of them is going to catch him, and it's probably going to be the ugly one first. But he has to turn down that super PAC money, and right now he needs it to run his businesses. And there will be no difference between that and then, except for he will have sold a couple of his businesses already. Like Lindell selling the plane to fight for to pay for Brandon House's new studio.